Welcome. Welcome, one and all. AC, start it out. Do the intro. Do the Warhammer intro. Do the roar. Do the roar.
Why would I roar for a bunch of zombie metal people when we're talking about Necrontyr? The Necrontyr you approach differently. They're the zombies. They do not even have mouths. They speak. They speak like Egyptian royalty. Which means they're better than the rest of us. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. They are better than the rest of us, even though if they had flesh, they would have constant cancer and die at age 40. It's don't question it too much. However, welcome back to Chris learns Warhammer, and I attempt to teach him something that he vaguely understands. But
very vaguely.
Most of it's Chris pretending to understand and nodding his head slowly while not actually getting a single thing I've told him. And now this week we're going to be talking about the Necrons, or as they were called before they lost all their flesh and gave in to a bunch of star gods and sold their souls for metal bodies, the Necrontyr, who are the most. They're a strange one because in fiction, if this was Warcraft, right? Because the factions are loosely similar to Warcraft. These would be the undead. These are zombies, except in the 41st millennium, our zombies are actually robots without souls, but kind of the consciousnesses of an entire species that decided they wanted immortality more than they wanted flesh. But their entire thing is bizarre, and it's entirely the fault of one guy, Sarek, the Silent King, which is a name that I spent 20 minutes before the stream attempting to figure out how to pronounce because I just read it in my brain and I know I've heard how to pronounce this, but its knowledge is gone. Bye.
Yeah, we were sitting in the Discord call, and I just kept on hearing him like try to pronounce the name while I was setting stuff up. It was funny, but yeah. Sorry for last week, guys. AC had power troubles because, of course, he lives in South Africa, and South Africa hates its people.
Well, in fairness, this time it wasn't a South African fault. It was so much as a fault of the fact that this is a fault that I'm fairly certain happens in the States because both, like the Americans, we have crumbling infrastructure and everything's just on fire. But yeah, at least we didn't vote for a weird xenophobic lunatic.
Yeah.
As much as you shit on South Africa, I'm going to keep coming back with that. Even our equivalent wasn't xenophobic. He's still around, and he's weird, and he does tell you to listen properly a lot. Yeah, Jacob Zuma is a really weird dude.
But AC, what's the deal? What's the deal with the Necrons?
The Necrons. Well, so see, the Necrons are the oldest species in Warhammer 40k. They're the oldest people. They existed before everybody else, with the exception of the Chaos Gods, who even then I think they may have predated. They're the oldest species. They're so old that the Eldar and the Orcs didn't exist until they lost their bodies. So the Eldar and the Orcs never fought a Necron who had flesh. That's how old the Necrons are. They are
So if we're talking about like the timeline of like Warhammer, Necrons would be like at the very beginning then? Like almost at the beginning? Or somewhere near there, and then later on it would be Orcs and then Eldar. But after they got their metal bodies.
It'd be more Orcs and Eldar at the same time. See, the Necrons are the reason that Orcs and Eldar even exist in the first place. They were kind of engineered specifically to fight the Necrons, who were, an unstoppable machine once they became, machines. They were a war machine who just wanted to fucking murder a completely unrelated species to either of the two called The most imaginative name imaginable. The Old Ones. They were just a bunch of lizard people. They were ancient lizard people who were connected to the
old
wall.
ones. It's
They're
like they
just
gave
old.
up. They just didn't have any creativity. They're like, oh, we're the oldest people in the galaxy. We're the old ones.
Well, to be fair, that's what the Necron called them, and the Eldar called them. But they probably had a different name for themselves, but they are extinct. They were killed by the Necrons, as far as we were aware. There is a theory that they're actually the ethereals that the Tau that lead the Tau, but that is a completely different thing. And I don't think the theory is correct anyway. But there is a theory about that, as well as why the Tau were able to get to the point of basically Star Trek technology from Stone Age in about 5,000 years.
So we never found out what the Old Ones' actual species name are.
No, because you never interact with it. The only times that the Old Ones are mentioned is in the Necron books and in the Necron data books for the tabletop game. Those are the only times that they're brought up, because the Necrons are the only ones who are still alive who ever fought or met them. And now the old ones are weird because they're also connected to the other reason the Necrons are now robot people, which is the star gods, or the Catan, the gods who ate stars. The gods who would devour stars and, turn them into their shit.
Is it like a Galactus thing that they needed to eat stars in order to like live, or did they just eat stars much. For like? Okay.
No, they would eat stars to live, and they were more like primordial forces. They're not connected to the warp at all. They are beings of the materium, so they're purely like living beings within our universe, which is weird because you also get the chaos gods who are purely of the immaterium or of the warp, and they have completely different rules. But these fuckers, these guys, well, let me put it this way. They're the first of the Catan that you meet, and the only one that you know of who's alive. His name is Meftaran the Deceiver, or just, the Deceiver. The Necrons met. This is the first guy that the Necrons made contact with. In fairness,
that guy sounds really nice. I'm sure he's real trustworthy.
To be fair, when they met him, he wasn't called the Deceiver. That's a name the Necron gave him in retrospect. But
yeah,
the Necrons went to war with the Old Ones back when they had flesh, and the Old Ones kicked their asses. They did not stand a chance. They got wiped the fuck out. They lost the war. They were losing. They ran away. They were dying, and they ran into the Catan, who promised them a way. They kind of made a deal, because the Catan had also fought a war against the Old Ones before the Necrons, but millennia, thousands and thousands of years before the Necron. So they were like, these guys are also our ancient enemies. So how about we Skype a bit of a deal here, right?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend type deal.
Yeah, kind of, but more like you're dealing with a scummy god who wants to, steal all your shit. So they said, we'll help you fight the Old Ones if you give us bodies. Necrodermis bodies. So the same stuff that the Necrons are now made out of, if they built them bodies made of that. So the Necrons did. And in return, they were given the means of biotransference. So taking all their consciousness and putting it in a machine. And the very first Necron who underwent this process was the Silent King himself, Sarka. And have you noticed something about the way I pronounce his name? I've completely forgotten how to fucking say it. Sazerac. he was the first one who went through, and when he came out of this biotransference, he realized something was missing. Yeah, the Catan tricked the Necrons and devoured all their souls.
Oh God.
So
why did they do that?
So when they did the biotransference, the Catan ate the Necrons' souls, but they didn't tell them that this would happen. So when the Necrons actually did undergo the biotransference, they just thought they were getting new bodies, and that's what they felt. They're like, cool, we got new bodies. We don't have a problem. Yes, you fucking do. You don't have souls anymore. So that led to them also then routing. But after this, most Necrons didn't question it. They're like, cool, we've now got these bodies. Let's go fucking fight. So they took the war back to the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they fucking destroyed them. They pushed them back. They conquered almost the entire galaxy for the war in heaven, which is what they ended up calling this eons long war that these two species had. Which also then ended in the ancient or the old ones building creating both the Eldari and the Orcs or the Quarks, specifically to fight the Necrons. And the Eldari were kind of the opposite of the Necrons because they were long-lived. They were connected very nicely to the warp, so they had power. And they were a young species, so they were still, not arrogant pricks that we'll get to in a minute about what the Eldari became eventually. They were, they have their own problems, and they ended up becoming a hedonistic society that then just spawned their own warp god.
Circling back on the Necrons and the thing you said
Catan.
before. The Catan. Why did Necrons need different bodies? What was wrong with the bodies that they had before?
So the sun that they evolved on, right, left their species sickly. The entire species, to the point of it was genetic. So they would live about 40 years, but they would also live in pain, in constant pain. They'd have tumors everywhere. They would die in quite significant pain, to the point of they had a culture around death where they would build their own coffins and stuff like that. So they were desperate. They were desperate to leave. Their first encounters with the old ones were they asked the old ones to help them, and the old ones said, "No, we don't want to. I don't think we will." So they didn't. They just sort of left them to suffer in their poisoned sun. And the Necrons didn't take this lying down, and hence they had their first war with them, and then
which was the war in heaven, as you said before, right?
No, the war in heaven was after they got their metal bodies. That's when they started the war in heaven and started building some absolutely batshit insane weapons, which is weird because before they left their home planet, they already had time control. Like they built perfect stasis where within certain spaces time would just not exist. It would just stop, no longer move.
Jeez.
So they left their planet, and that was how they never got warp travel like the rest, or a webway travel. So their only means of getting between planets when they first started was they would have to go into stasis between planets. Because of their cancers and stuff, they couldn't even do generational trips where just like one generation left and another generation arrived. They would have to be like, okay, we're going as fast as we can, but like we have to be in stasis the whole time. So they'd arrive on a planet, set up.
So like how it is in like the Alien franchise, where whenever they go from point A to point B, they just put themselves in like a sleep pod, so they don't like age or anything like that, right?
Yes. That's exactly what they would do.
Why couldn't they just like since I'm guessing before they were like really technologically advanced, why couldn't they just like figure out some way to, I don't know, help themselves with
They
like the
tried.
cancer.
They tried. They tried a lot. They tried for centuries, and they got nothing. Nothing worked. Nothing cured them. So they were kind of screwed. Anyway, going back to the War in Heaven, because that's kind of where we get towards moving towards the 41st millennium, Trazen, and all the really interesting stuff. But it has to start with the Blackstone pylons, which, if you've played Space Marine 2, you'd be mildly familiar with kind of what a Blackstone pylon is, since you've seen them at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
That whole little underground section.
No, at the very end of the game where you have to turn that thing over.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
That's all Necron
yeah.
tech. All of that shit that they do, that's all Necron shit. And that's all, those are like I believe those are the Blackstone pylons, which are used to dampen the warp. Hence why they were used in that to like kick out chaos, because they would basically stop the warp and create like a still area in the warp, which would get rid of like demons or whatever. They would be sent
like
back
the Zeech. Yeah.
like Zinch's, like the Zinch followers you see in the Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
But that was basically what the Catan taught them how to build, so they could fight the old ones, because the old ones were psychic users. So they fought them back by just getting rid of their ability to use psychic shit, and then would just use their giant Gauss rifles, their celestial orrery, their insane weapons to just fucking destroy them. To be fair, back in the War in Heaven, the warfare you see in 40k is like nothing compared to what was in the War in Heaven, because the War in Heaven was like watching gods fight, because they would destroy entire star systems. They would destroy stars. They would rip stars out of the sky and throw them at each other. It was insane warfare.
And who was doing that? Was that the Necrons or like the
both
other
sides? It was both sides, but mostly the Necrons. Hence why they won. The Necrons properly won against against everyone, and then the Eldari. But after beating the old ones, they shattered the Catan for their betrayal. Because the Catan had done one other thing to the Necrons when they'd done this biotransference. They'd added a subroutine or a piece of code in all of their heads, except for the Silent King, that they would all be absolutely loyal to the Silent King without question. They were basically enslaved to the Silent King.
Oh.
The Silent King didn't like this. So two of the things he did that ended with the Necron going into their great sleep were the rise of the Eldari and the shattering of the Catan, which I might be getting my timelines a little bit wrong here. Don't worry about it. It's an idiot teaching an idiot. Don't even worry about it. So,
yes, sir.
But going back to what I was saying, the Silent King, when the decided to put his entire species to sleep across all their tomb worlds throughout the entire galaxy, he sent out a message that they must all go to sleep. And when they went to sleep, he removed this piece of code that made them absolutely loyal to him. And then he left the galaxy. He was the first one to find the Tyranids. Actually, that's part of why he ended up leaving, is to find a way to A, get the Necrons their flesh bodies back, and B, to fight the Tyranids.
So he's trying to find like their flesh bodies. Why would he want to do that? Wouldn't like the metal bodies be like a substantial improvement over the flesh bodies?
In terms of warfare, yes. In terms of psychological effect on the beings who are trapped within them, no. For example, Necrons occasionally try and breathe and then have panic attacks when they realize they can't.
Ah, okay.
And that's something that's just they can't help. It's like a reflex that they try to breathe, discover they can't, panic, and then like freak out for a bit. And it happens at random to everyone. Like all the Necrons. They also have other things, such as the flayed ones, which I talked about in a Halloween special about what they are. Can you remember what the flayed ones are? Describe it to anyone just watch this episode. Let's see how much you learned.
So basically, the flayed ones are Necrons that have gone crazy, like so crazy that they kill other people, skin them, and then try to wear that skin on themselves to try to basically mimic how they were before they got turned into the robots, because they want that feeling back. But yeah, that's basically
that's pretty close. But it's interesting because there are two other factions to the Necrons. There's the Destroyers. No, there's one other. There's like an opposite faction that has a different disease that makes them hate organics. They want to destroy all organics that exist within the galaxy, and they've altered themselves to have like extra arms. They kind of have like hover. They're kind of like living tanks. Like they're attached to like a hover thing with like a bunch of cannons and stuff on it, and they're just a dude. It's like a
so like the more robot looking ones are the ones that hate organics. So
well, no, they all look extremely robotic. The ones that look like vehicles are the ones that hate organics.
So like your average Necron looks bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs, like human looking, like a skeleton.
Well, they don't look human. They look like the skeleton of the Necron.
Oh yeah, like vaguely human, like
vaguely they have 2 arms, looking. 2 legs, and a head.
But the ones you were talking about are just like full fucking like Adeptus Mechanicus. They try to get rid of their human looking form as much as possible.
Yes. They try. Well, it's not so much that they try and get rid of the form as they try and upgrade themselves as much as possible to do so they can do as much damage as possible to organics. See, they don't hate the shape of organics. They hate the literal matter. They hate the actual matter of organics. Like your flesh and blood is what they hate. They don't care about your shape. They hate the fact that you have flesh and blood. They despise it. They want to destroy the flesh and blood itself. They want to burn away all of that stuff.
Okay.
And yet, most of these problems come from Necrons waking up early. From their great sleep, which was supposed to last 65 million years.
So they didn't get a good night's sleep, and now they're all fucked up and cranky, and now they decided to make it all our problems.
That's not quite it, because part of the reason that is they would wake up early because of bad programming or corruption in their programming that would wake them up. So the corruptions and stuff is what woke them up and got them to do all this crazy shit and actually engage with other people in stupid fights that won stupid prizes.
So speaking of fights, what kind of weaponry does the Necrons have?
Oh, Necron weapons. Necron weapons are potentially the most fucked up thing they have, because a lot of their weapons are basically magic to everybody else. When Mechanicus stumble upon like the Mechanicus stumble upon Tomb Worlds, they have a fucking orgasm the whole fucking time because they raid them for shit. They're not supposed to, but they do anyway, because the amount of technology that the Necrons had, or even just have, is completely batshit insane. The flayed ones alone have their own like sub-dimension that they disappeared to. That was just a thing that they did, that they created. I should actually talk about, before I get into the weapons and the classes and all the units that they have for the tabletop, the most important thing I should actually talk about first is the way that they're ordered and the fact that they have dynasties. Like,
oh, so they have a hierarchy. Okay.
Oh, they have a lot of. They have a hierarchy within a hierarchy within a hierarchy. These bastards are organized, but they're organized in really, really irritating and bureaucratic ways. It's very funny.
More so than the Imperium of Man, or
Okay, the Imperium of Man. Everybody kind of hates each other in the Imperium of Man, right?
mm-hmm.
The Necrons will listen, regardless how much they hate people. They will listen and they will obey, and they won't like. They'll do political skullduggery, but they won't straight up go murder other Necrons. Within reason, there are obviously some wars when people wake up early, and then there's Imhotep the Stormlord, who's in charge of all the Necrons and the biggest dynasty, and he creates problems. But we'll get there when we get there.
All right, keep on going.
Okay, so there are a few main dynasties. The main one you need to know about is probably the Sutek dynasty, which is the biggest of all the dynasties that's awake at the moment, right? They have they were ranked the third most powerful of the Necron royal dynasties. However, in the 41st millennium, they have the most people who've woken up who have actual power, and they also have the most just people. The other powerful royal houses had problems where people, when they were trying to wake up, got corrupted, or the humans just straight up destroyed their planets, or warp storms destroyed their planets, or Eldari found their planets and destroyed them because the Eldar were their ancient enemies. So if the Eldar found their tomb worlds, they would just nuke them and destroy any trace of the Necrons they could find.
That's crazy. I didn't expect Sutek from Doctor Who to make an appearance in the Warhammer universe.
I mean, they probably took his name. Sutek's from the 1970s. His first appearance was in the 70s. So he was a fourth Doctor. Don't get me started on Doctor Who. I won't shut up. Anyway, back to Warhammer.
I had to throw that little thing in there because I knew you'd laugh.
It's fair. But going back to the dynasties, I went through a list of dynasties, right?
For the Sutek one.
Yeah, so Sutek, I mentioned them because they're the biggest dynasty and potentially the present most important one, because everybody knows the Sutek dynasty, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the letter A, there are 5 dynasties. For B, there's 1. C, there's 1. D, there's 1. E, there's 3. H, there's 4. K, there are 3. M, there are 2. N, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. O, there's 5. I don't remember any of these fucking names except for the Sutek because they're important. Everyone else is kind of just like around, but not really doing much. And there is one other dynasty that I'll mention that's kind of important, but this is entirely because they. See if I can fucking find these bastards and remember their name, because they were the ones from the book, The Twice Dead King. Their lord. I can't even remember. My brain is fucked. Don't even worry about it. I can't remember where he's from. But anyway,
don't worry, AC. We're both idiots. You just know more about Warhammer than I do.
That's not fine. That much more. The Necrons are complicated to get into their lore, and they've got a lot of lore. Like, because they went back, the Necrons somehow went from in the early days of 40k. They had basically no lore. They were just rambling zombies. They couldn't even talk. They were just vaguely Egyptian zombie robots. And then by about 5th edition, they became big. They started getting lore, and then by 10th edition, the current edition, they have intense amounts of lore, but only like 3 books. And I've read all 3, and they're good. Twice Dead King books are fantastic, and The Infinite and the Divine is hilarious. Because the Infinite and Divine is about Trajan the Infinite and his bitching with his rival. And the fact that there's one planet where they spent 5 centuries fucking with each other over it. And they ended up like destroying a human colony. And then just when the Eldari came, they also killed them, but like just the 2 of them. They had no chill.
So you mentioned before you wanted to get into the units and like the weapons and stuff.
Well,
Since
the units are kind of important because when when the biotransference happened, they took the plebeians, the normal folk, the peasants, and turned them into warriors. Now, the problem with being a Necron warrior is you lose all sentience. You become basically your bog standard robot, zombie robot who shoots things. That's a Necron warrior.
so just like a mindless killing machine
Pretty
that
much. Pretty much.
can't do anything really else.
Pretty much. That is what they do. They just kill people. They just fight. They are not very useful. They're just normal everyday, and that was what happened to all the normal everyday people within the entire species. They just became Necron warriors. So they went in with brains and came out with meh. Now,
Damn.
one step up from that is a Necron Immortal. Now, a Necron Immortal was like, a lot of them were basically, what's the word for it? They were the veterans. They were the veteran soldiers of the Necrons. And they're one step up from a warrior, but that's not really saying much because what that really means is they have some personality. They can fight. They've got a little bit of tactical know-how, and they can guide warriors. They don't really have that much of a personality. They're basically the same as monotask servitors within the Imperium. So, like, those floating heads you see?
Yeah.
They got about as much personality as one of those.
I mean, it does make sense. You need someone to basically tell the warriors what to do because they can't think for themselves. So you just get a veteran who has a lot of experience fighting to lead them.
It's true, but they're oddly kind of useless. They do have some. Then they've got some interesting ones because they got their elites. So they got death marks. You have seen a death mark before,
because in the Pariah Nexus.
Pariah Nexus, that is a death mark. They're just the snipers really of the Necrons. They will snipe out, leaders. They're assassins basically. But they're extremely good at what they do and extremely dangerous because they have Gauge rifles that will fucking kill people and they can teleport, essentially.
Then, I think I'd be scared of a aimbot sniper with the gun that insta kills me.
They do have more personality than the Immortals, so they actually have a fair amount of personality left within them, and they also have like a really good propensity for stealth. So they also have some systems that help them go almost invisible and sneak around. And they can also, because they're robots, they can move unnaturally slowly. So they can also move in a way that Drax wishes he could.
That's a good one.
Then you get the Lich Guards. So the Lich Guards are the guards of the nobility, of people like Trazen and stuff. They get Lich Guards. Lich Guards are way, way higher up. They're close to nobility in terms of they've got almost full personalities left intact. They can fully talk. But I'm also trying to remember which of the classes never went to sleep and just kept fighting for about 65 million years. So 65 million years of combat. Can you imagine trying to fight something that has that much combat experience?
Yeah, I'd lose like every single time. Yeah. The amount of like experience and knowledge that's been accrued over that period of time.
Yeah. Now, do you want to hear about the most fucked up thing that the Necrons did to humans?
Okay, what is it?
So you know what the pariahs are, right? Or what the pariah gene is?
No, I don't. What is it?
So it's just humans who don't have any connection to the warp. They're just like empty.
Oh, so like the blanks?
Yeah, they're basically just the blank creators. But
Okay.
actually, no, but they're a bit worse. Because the pariahs do something even more than just being blank. They repulse the warp, if I remember correctly. But they're absent. They got nada, right? So Necrons found a bunch of these humans, abducted them, and turned them into basically Necrons.
Oh shit! So they can turn regular like humans into Necrons too. Can they do the same thing with other alien
Kind of.
races?
They've only shown it to do it to humans, from what I can tell, because it's basically a way to fight against psychers. They just use it because they found the blanks. They found, and I think it's only works with specifically blanks. They can't do it to anyone warp connected.
Because from what I remember, psychers are an innately like organic. They have to be like living in order to do like the psyker shit. But since the Necrons aren't organic like at all, they don't have any like psyker units.
Yeah, but their closest thing is the pariahs, and the pariahs, well, they damage, they hurt psychers. They just being near psychers scares psychers, and then like trying to hit them with psychic powers does not work. In fact, it's more likely to rebound on yourself if you try and hit one of these pariahs with psychic powers. And they're armed with just giant fucking war scythes and inbuilt gauze blasters. Now, gauze blasters? I can never remember how it's pronounced. But it's the Necron. Yeah, it's gauze. But they have a lot of guns. They have a lot of blasters that are just like, if you get hit by this, you will be reduced to atoms. Actually, wait, that's all of their guns. They're just varying levels on how big the gun is and who's allowed to hold it, or how quickly it will turn you to dust. The higher, the bigger the gun, the faster you get disintegrated.
So you told me like the Necrons are like super all powerful and shit. How haven't they destroyed the Imperium of Man by now?
Because they're still waking up. Most of the Necrons are asleep on their tomb worlds.
So the problem is they just don't have the amount of units to take over not take over, to destroy the Imperium.
It's kind of more complicated because it's partially that. It's also partially they're just like in a corner and haven't had gigantic interactions with man. Most of the time when the Imperium finds them, it's because they woke them up by accident on tomb worlds. And it wasn't so much that the Necrons came to them as they came to the Necrons, and the Necrons were like, what the fuck are you doing on a planet? There are Necrons who have allied themselves to some factions of humans, but for very specific reasons. For example, the Silent King did ally with a small sect of Ultramarines against the Tyranids. But there's now an event going on in the books called the Pariah Nexus, which is, I still don't know what's happening in that, but it's a fucked up thing. Which now brings me to, I'm going to now talk about my favorite thing to talk about when it comes to the Necrons. Trazen the Infinite. Trazen the Kleptomaniac. Trazen I have a straight up clone of one of the fucking Primarchs, the Infinite. A perfect clone of Fulgrim. He just has it for some reason. I think he also has a clone of the Emperor.
Wait. So you're saying that
Emperor of Mankind.
You're saying that the Primarchs can be cloned?
Yeah.
Like, is it like a fully functional clone? Like, it can talk and like fight and shit?
It has Fulgrim's soul.
Okay, so this is the second time you've mentioned like the soul. The soul is like an actual thing in the Warhammer universe that you can
it's linked
trap
to the
and
warp.
Put into other things.
Well, it's linked to the warp, right? And if the more into the warp you become, the more corrupted your soul becomes. So a lot of the like Chaos Space Marines have some fucked up shit happening to them, man. So the soul is basically like the way in for the fucking chaos gods, right? So the chaos gods get in through your soul. They basically take your soul and then corrupt your soul, and that's how they gain their power. That's how the Catan gained their powers. They devoured the Necron souls, and then became godlike. And there were at least 7 Catan. There was Mefteran, Asgarog.
Come on, you got it. You got it. You can do it.
What the fuck is that name? God damn. I can't say that name. Necrons are intensely complicated, and the Catan's names are annoying.
Not only is the Necron lore complicated, the Necron names are so complicated that AC can't even say it.
Well, the Necrons' main thing is that they're linked to ancient Egypt, so most of their names are also like Egyptian based. So it's on a language I don't really know very well. And they have things like pharaohs are their planetary leaders, and then they have tomb lords who are lords of pharaohs are entire clans or entire dynasties. A pharaoh will be in charge of an entire dynasty. But underneath the pharaoh, you'll have a Necron Tomb Lord, Necron Overlord, and they report to each other. And then, oh my god, it's giving me a headache to try to remember all this shit. They have several levels of this shit, Chris. You do not understand.
I can tell.
And then they have bureaucracy on top of all of this
bureaucracy
shit that they seem to like. Skyfall is why?
Wait, so you're telling me a Necron's ideal job would be working at the DMV?
No. It would be working at the place where they send people to the DMV, or in a high court. So their ideal job would be working your Supreme Court.
Ah.
And it wouldn't be very different to how it is now. There'd just be slightly more murder.
And a lot more older people. Older Necrons.
What do you mean a lot more older people? Everyone in your Supreme Court is ancient.
I know, but the Necrons would be even more ancient.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be 2 steps away from dying.
Yeah.
They would be immortal and you'd be stuck with them for eternity. While they just sit there like, get fucked. You're gonna get fucked. While we wait for this other random Necron to wake up before we can put your guy on trial. How long is it gonna be till he wakes up? About 2,000 years.
No, great.
We'll wait 2,000 years. It's fine. This is what the Necrons are like.
So before you were talking about what was the dude's name? Tayrin? The Infinite guy? Trazyn.
You're thinking of Trazyn the Infinite. One of my favorite, absolute batshit insane, just wonderful Necron kleptomaniacs who has also somehow obtained several Primarchs, entire battalions of,
so
Space Marines from the Horus Heresy. He almost got a clone of Horus, but that was a whole different mess.
When we're talking about this dude, is he like the basically like the collector from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he just like has a bunch of stuff on display?
Kind of, but his displays are bigger and more bizarre. He's a Necron overlord and self-proclaimed archivist of the Solomance galleries on the Necron tomb world of Solomance, which apparently only Necrons can go visit because they are kind of xenophobic, but that's literally every other species in fucking 40k. They all hate the other species for
I would imagine the Tau not being like xenophobic, right?
Well, the Tau the Tower are complicated because they have some sus stuff that is starting to sneak its way into their story. For example,
All
the
right.
fact that they've got Commander Farsight who is being corrupted by Khorne. But we'll get to that when I start talking about the Tower eventually.
I can't wait for that because the Tower my favorite.
That is an interesting choice of favorite.
What they're like the only good race that's in Warhammer outside of like the Salamanders, but even then the Salamanders are still part of the Imperium.
The Salamanders are part of the Imperium, but they're trying to make it better. Gilliman being in charge of the Imperium is an extremely good thing because he's actually trying to fix it. Having Rabute Gilliman there is good. But we're not talking about Rabute Gilliman and the Primarchs. I might actually cover that next time because the Primarchs and Gilliman are really interesting to talk about. And I've gotten a little bit more into talking about them recently. But let's get back to Trazyn the Infinite. The galaxy's greatest kleptomaniac and weirdest collector of random moments in history because he believes that the most important thing is to, you know, preserve history. But he also thinks if you're not using a battalion of soldiers, he's going to nick them. The
He
entire
just
battalion.
steals. He just steals enemy soldiers and ally soldiers.
I don't think he's stolen any Necrons. He's mostly stolen from the other races.
What does
He's
he do
got
with them?
He traps them in stasis and displays them for anyone who can find his museum and wander through it. The only ones who really come and actually talk to him are rogue traders who are basically free to do whatever the fuck they want, and the Inquisitorius. But he doesn't. He just kills Inquisitors and talks to the rogue traders because the rogue traders don't want to try and send the entire Imperium to kill him and steal his shit. They
Yeah,
don't give a fuck. But the Imperium gets weird. Trazyn's try to collect some interesting things, such as the Spear of Vulcan, the entire 13th Black Crusade.
wait,
Drugs.
Vulcan, the
Spear Primarch.
Salamanders Primarch, the best guy ever.
He's tried to obtain the Spear of Vulcan, which is one of the 9 artifacts of Vulcan left behind by the Primarch for his legion to reclaim over the millennia, since he
Uh huh.
disappeared during the War of the Beast, which was the last great orc war before Gazgul. And it's interesting because Vulcan's still fucking gone. Anyway, back to Trazyn, my boy, my steely boy, who just has bitching with other people. I love him.
I swear, AC would just like wear like a shirt that says Trazyn is the best, number one.
Duh. No shit. Of course I would. That shit's awesome. Why wouldn't I do that? Of course I'd fucking do that. Yeah, I'd wear a shirt with fucking Trazyn on it. You guys want to send me a shirt? Send me a shirt with Trazyn on it. I'd fucking wear that
Honestly,
every day.
I do the same, but it'd be like Vulcan,
Yeah. But
holding like a puppy
Trazyn's
and
interesting.
giving a thumbs up to the camera.
So Trazyn's even had dealings with Belisarius Cole, who is the current head of the Mechanicum. He's the head of the Adeptus Mechanicus. And he's also why we've ended up with Primaris Marines. He's done a lot of stuff, but he had dealings with Trazyn to get certain things he needed to build shit and to battle against the 13th Black Crusade on Cadia. Not that it really helped much. Cadia still ended up shattered, but he was there. He helped a little bit, and then
Mind your tongue, Cadia still stands.
Cadia is a shattered planet.
Cadia fell before the guard did.
Cadia still fell. But the Cadians did not.
Yeah. Cadia fans, You gotta take out AC.
It's fine.
He's talking shit.
It's fine. I'll just do the Trazen thing and fucking teleport. Or go get a new body, because every time Trazen dies, he just hops, skips, and jumps into a new body. He does not give a shit. But his story's also...
What other things has Trazen taken of note?
He took a portion of the of a battle, several battles from the Horus Heresy, and had a Koran. Fuck me. I'm trying to remember this other necromancer. This other fucking...
Another Necron name?
It's a Necron. Orican. So Orican is another... Orican the Diviner. He's a chronomancer. Which means he is a time-traveling Necron who just jumps through time to get the shit he wants. And Trazen makes a point of stealing his shit before he can get to it. Because they hate each other to the point of they will steal each other's shit, and they don't care. They just keep doing it to each other because fuck that guy.
You know, it's funny. I've never heard AC mispronounce as much stuff as he did today when it comes to the Necron names.
Okay.
Usually he's just he's really on point with it.
Okay, Chris, I want you to pronounce... I'm going to send you a word on Discord. I want you to pronounce it out loud as you see it read.
All right.
Read that word. Read that name out loud.
Zarek.
And you've also heard me saying it. And there's Orican, who... I don't know why I'm struggling with Orican. It's not that bad. But Orican and Trazen have a rivalry that's ended in Orican stealing shit from Trazen, which is unique. He doesn't often get random shit stolen from him. But if you want to know some of the interesting shit that's in Trazen's gigantic collection of shit is Lieutenant Commander Senatries of the Ultramarine Legion, his battle brothers, and several Contemptor Pattern dreadnoughts from the time of the Horus Heresies. He's just got those. At least a member of the Adeptus Custodes. He's just got a random custodian. He's got a Custodes. He just got him in his collection.
Just frozen.
The Lost Regiments of the Astra Militarum from Tanith. Lord Castellan of Cadia, Ursarkar E. Creed, who he captured before the Fortress World to chaos before it shattered. He just kidnapped the commander of the planet, which is still fucking hilarious to me. He's like, the last Castle of Cadia, you're mine. And then he just fucked off with him. He just kidnapped a dude. A perfect clone of the Primarch Fulgrim, which he received in exchange for providing 18,000 samples of pure Emperor's Children gene seed in a deal with Fabius Bile. I'll get to Fabius Bile one of these days, but not yet. But he did get a perfect clone of Fulgrim, who's just... no one's going to ever do anything with that. He has a Wraithbone choir from one of the craft worlds of the Eldari. The preserved head of Sebastian Thor. The ossified husk of an enslaver. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Does he have Walt Disney's frozen head?
Probably, I don't know. He also has Brother Cassiel of the Blood Angels chapter of Space Marines, who've been seconded to Death Watch, and then he was a giant, even for one of the Astartes, and his face has just been partially frozen by Trazen's technology in a moment of fear.
So, is there any reason why he has all this stuff?
Because he believes it is his duty to preserve the universe as it was when the Necrons get their flesh back, to show them what the rest of the universe used to look like. He also has just random heroes from the Second Tyrannic War and several random bits of the high fleet behemoth.
Damn,
Behemoth?
so this guy's like super fucking old if he has like different things from various time periods.
Oh yeah, he's also a bit of a. Remember, Necrons are also time travelers. They've got chronomancers. They can. The amount of shit they can do that's basically just straight up fucking magic is insane. It's hilarious. They don't even use the warp. It's just straight up magic. I don't understand. It's science. They call it science, but it's magic. He
Wait,
also
so
has
does magic exist in the Warhammer universe? Like at like
no,
actual like magic.
no. Well, it doesn't Warhammer Fantasy. Not so much in 40k. But he also has Orican the Diviner, his rival, who is now just part of an upcoming exhibit that has his name. So he has his rival just stuck.
Dude,
I
this
love
guy
crazy
sounds like
chaos.
it would be amazing to see all this like in an exhibit. Like you just see like Vulcan's spear, and there's like a little thing, a little panel like describing what it is and
A
who
little
it belonged
plaque,
to.
a little plaque
Yeah, a little
underneath. It's just
plaque.
like look, this is the spear of Vulcan. It was wielded by this son of Vulcan. You're like,
Oh, and
what?
here's like a 100% perfect clone of that Primarch that you said. I forgot his name already.
Fulgrim. You've
Yeah,
forgotten
Fulgrim.
Fulgrim. Fulgrim's the one who became one of Slanesh's. He became a giant snake thing that has like three dicks and does Slanesh things.
Wait, you're saying Fulgrim turned into a snake thing that had 3 dicks?
Yes, yes, I am.
No, and it's a Slanesh thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
he also Fulgrim's story is so bizarrely depressing. But yes, I'll get to Fulgrim eventually when I talk about when I
The
bullshit.
Primarchs.
Well, Primarchs and the Emperor's Children. But back to the Necron tier, the zombies who are currently trying to save everyone from the Tyranids, which is not going well for them because the Tyranids
You'd
are the
think that
Tyranids, and they're kind of terrifying.
the Necrons would be like the perfect enemies to go against the Tyranids because they don't have any like biological bodies that the Tyranids could like use to get more Tyranids. Plus the Necrons have like the one hit kill weapons that can completely like atomize someone.
Mm, pretty much.
But like as you said before, the Necrons don't have a lot of units, so the Tyranids would have the numbers advantage, even though it's an
The,
inherent weakness to fight against them.
the Necrons have the advantage of basically magic technology that can destroy things down to like a cellular level, which is absolutely batshit insane.
But not a lot of people to use it.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of evens out at the end of the day. So what else? What else about the Necrons did you want to talk
So
about?
so the Necrons the Necrons are currently the most like hidden around on the eastern fringe, but they keep building shit that disrupts the warp. Their main thing is just disrupting the warp so no one can use it in a war against them. And that has led to a lot of just, well, making people very uncomfortable. Making it so that the problem with what they've done with with the Blackrock pylon or Blackstone pylons is that they've started doing a thing where it disrupts or makes the warp still. But making the warp still means that if you're a human and you go into the warp, you just kind of stop living. You like lose all sense of motivation for everything. So a lot of people within the Pariah Nexus are just straight up like They stop caring to the point of they just stop breathing and then die.
Jesus.
They don't get killed. They just stop. They just straight up stop work.
They just stop doing stuff.
They stop caring. They stop breathing. They stop eating. They stop. And it leads to a lot of bizarre situations, but it doesn't affect the Necrons because the Necrons don't have fucking souls. It does also slow down the Tyranids. The Tyranids aren't doing as much damage as you would.
Do the Tyranids have souls?
The Tyranids have an effect on the warp, but I don't know if you could say they have souls because they are almost just this weird silent race.
I would imagine like the more intelligent Tyranids would maybe have souls, because I'm getting like the correlation between like souls and intelligence from this. So like an average human has intelligence.
Yeah, but remember, it doesn't kill intelligence for people like the pariahs. They still have intelligence. They just don't have.
Well, that's because the Catan took their souls.
Not the pariahs. A pariah is a human. The pariah gene's a human gene that makes a blank. And if you have a blank, blanks are still like normal people. They just don't have souls and make everyone else really, really, really fucking uncomfortable.
Does when they do the biotransference, does the soul carry over to the metal body, or does the soul just get lost?
So biotransference, I don't know how it works with the pariahs or how they make pariahs, because I can't find a thing that actually shows or tells you how they're made, just that they make them from humans. But that's about all the detail you get. It's just they were made from humans, and then that's the amount of information you get about how that works.
So it's not as simple as say copying a file and then moving that file to the hard drive, and then it just copies over, and then the file's on the hard drive. It's not as simple as that.
No, I think it's the personality copies, but nothing else. So you don't get but also remember when the Catan did this, they devoured the souls of the Necrons. And a lot of Necrons want to go back to the time of flesh. They want their bodies back. But getting their bodies back is
rough. It's not.
It's basically impossible because they don't know. They would need to first generate the bodies. They need to actually have bodies to put their minds into, at least. So they don't have any of that right now.
Have they ever tried to reverse the biotransference? Like they say they clone a body that's brain dead or doesn't have its own soul. What if they just transferred their mind over to that body? Kind of like how Professor X did at the end of X3 Last Stand.
Well, for a start, any Necron bodies have long since turned to, fossils and dust, because that was over 65 million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So their bodies are gone, and at the time when they went through biotransference, most didn't care. Trazen cared. Trazen didn't want to. He resisted as long as he could before he went and did it, and so did his. But his rival was one of the first to do it. Obviously the Silent King went through it just like that, but he had to show his people. They didn't know they were being tricked, and when they lost their souls, they didn't think there was a way back. The flayed ones took a while before they came, so the bodies were kind of destroyed when the biotransference took place, as far as I can gather. They're also not super clear on how biotransference works.
Okay, so they never tried to like transfer their minds into like another body outside of outside of what originally happened.
Yeah. But the
Oh, that kind of sucks.
in the Twice Dead King, they do talk about wanting their bodies back, but they can't. And they also it just takes time. It's one of those things where like they didn't think about it because they were instantly into a war with a hated enemy. And they also had the Silent King just urging them on because that was what their brains told them to do. That they had to be loyal and follow his orders to the letter. So they did what the Silent King wanted.
Hmm. I find it kind of odd that they never tried to basically reverse the biotransference into like another body, since
Well,
they're not currently at war anymore.
they're not, and there have apparently been people. There are Necrons who are thinking about trying it with the humans, and not cloning humans, just taking humans and stealing their bodies. There are some who contemplate that, but also remember, the Necrons think they're better than literally everyone else in existence. They think they are the greatest species to have ever existed.
Yeah, but at some point, since their original bodies aren't there, they're gonna have to get over it at some point, right?
You would think
Like,
that, but like that's they also
and
have
plus, even if they did get the original bodies, it's all like cancer ridden and shit, like you said before. Why
yeah.
would they want to go back to that when like a
It's
prime
most
body is just waiting there?
just keep in mind that they don't actually like being the robots. They are stuck like that. They don't want to be like that. It's like if you were a self-conscious zombie, you wouldn't want to be rotting all the time, right?
Yeah, I'd want
That's
to
basically the
get
idea.
I'd want to get my mind transferred into like a normal non-zombified body.
That's true, but also remember that the Necrons weren't the ones who did the biotransference, so they don't know how it works either. The
Okay,
Catan were
so
the ones who
okay.
did that. The Catan did that to them. They didn't do it to themselves.
So that clears up a lot of the gripes I was having cuz it just makes it didn't make sense at all. Like the Necrons are like this technologically advanced species that didn't have the time to do it before because they're at war, but now since they're not at war, they're just like standing around feeling sorry for themselves that they don't have organic bodies anymore.
Well, that's not quite true because now that they've lost that you remember that pesky code that says they have to be loyal to the Silent King?
Yeah, didn't you say before that they got rid of that?
Yes, now that they've gotten rid of it, they are now fighting with each other. They are at war, just with each
Oh,
other. And they're trying to be the ones who gain the most power, which is meant they've split kind of down the middle to who they have loyalty to. It's either Imhotep, the Stormlord, who I have yet to talk about, and I really should, or it's and I've forgotten how to pronounce it again. Sarek. 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 Shut the fuck up. Sarek.
sorry.
Sarek.
Uh,
Anyway, so
this is
it's
so funny.
either they choose loyalty to Sarek or they choose loyalty to Imhotep. And Imhotep, oh boy, Imhotep is he's his own big thing because he is the lord of he's Imhotep the Stormlord, the one who's in charge of the Sutek dynasty, the biggest, most badass dynasty that they've got, and he is a brutally powerful, you know, high lord. He's in charge. He's a pharaoh of the entire Sutek dynasty, which means he's got the biggest amount of troops, the biggest amount of loyal followers, the scariest amount of loyal warriors, and he's also the one who's one of the scariest warriors of the Necrons overall. He's a great strategist. He's ruthless. He's not. He's personality, but he doesn't like orcs. He fucking hates orcs, so therefore I don't like him. He thinks
that's like your line in the sand. This Necron, I love the Necrons, but I hate this one because he hates orcs.
he hates orcs because they're really hard to fight. Because he's good at at finding patterns and getting things that are recognizable, and orcs just kind of do
They're all
whatever.
like chaotic and shit.
They just do whatever the fuck without like any rhyme or reason. They just do whatever they want, and then fight along those lines of, oh, cool, it's a fight. Cool, let's go. What are we gonna do? I don't know. We're just gonna do a thing. We're gonna fight and do our thing, whatever that may happen to be.
Are there any other notable Necrons that are like named that have like story significance? Or like ones that really like pop out?
There is one, but I'm trying to remember his name.
Because I remember seeing like a of arts of like a Necron that had like a baby on its leg.
You're
It
gonna
was
have
like
to
holding a baby.
You're gonna have to Altex. There is the Necron Lord Altex. Jeez, the old ones look so weird. There's Altex, who is the protagonist of the Twice Dead King. And it's weird because he's not, because I can't find, I just remember being in the book, but I don't find much, that much
so I looked it
information
up.
outside of it.
The Necron that I'm referring to is on Necremum.
On Necremum? What?
Yeah.
I do not know that one. I only know.
I don't know if that's like an actual. Wait, it might be just a. Oh, it's a fan made Necron. Okay, it's not like an actual like story like Necron.
No. There is Altex, who is the Twice Dead King, who is a canon. He's a truly canon Pharaoh of, a Necron Lord of the Ithaca dynasty.
There you go.
That is very that's wholesome hammer. That's not Warhammer. I don't know what the fuck you look at there, but that's a different. That's like a story that has nothing to do with 40k. That's like an alternate universe where it didn't start out as a war tabletop game, and it's just like, oh yeah, we can actually finish stories. We can make people actually build alliances that are lasting and won't have players bitching about it after about 30 seconds.
So, do you think you'd enjoy Warhammer more or less if they added more wholesome like stories?
I don't know. 40k does not lend itself to, wholesomeness. That's not the vibe for 40k. You want wholesomeness? Go do not war. Yeah, you can go play War Thunder and have tanks. No, you can go play Warcraft. you want something that's got some wholesome stuff? Go play Warcraft. Which for some reason actually has nice stuff and stories that go.
The question still stands. Like, would you enjoy it more or less if they added like more wholesome stories?
I don't know. I probably less because I don't come to 40k looking for wholesomeness. I kind of don't want wholesomeness from 40k. I do like mischief and chaos from like people like Trazen, but like, yeah, no, I'm not into. I don't really want there to be that much because it takes away from the chaos of it, of the grim dark. It stops being the grim dark. It just becomes, oh look, it's fantasy in space. Meh.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You get more wholesome.
before we were talking about the Necron units. So what kind of like Necron like land vehicles do they have?
I mean, most Necrons just teleport.
Okay, so
Um,
they don't really have like
they're
vehicles or like air units.
the closest thing they have to like vehicles are they do kind of they have destroyers who are like really strange Necrons. Like I said, they look kind of like tanks, but they are very much yeah. Their tanks are basically just Necrons who decide they hate uh all of organic life, and they just are built to destroy stuff. They have like giant long tracks that they use to glide along really fast. They
Oh
also
God,
have
that is damn. That's a huge ass gun,
yeah, I told you. They also have
and
like
that gun is like it doesn't need to be that huge.
it doesn't, but it looks cool. So yeah, it does. This is 40k. It lives on entirely on the rule of cool. Is it
Yeah,
cool?
that's
Yes.
true.
Okay, let's do it. But there are a few other things that they have because they've also got canoptech canoptech canoptic spiders who are just gigantic metal giant like constructs that have anti-grav engines, and they also tend to sometimes be used as they're basically used for building their giant buildings and pyramids and their fleets. They're like interstellar fleets, which are really cool looking and have ridiculous damage stats, but are also kind of slow. Well, they can't warp travel, so they're slow in that regard.
God, you know what these Necron destroyers remind me of? Now that I'm looking at more images of them, it reminds
Centaurs?
me of that. It reminds me of that. What is it called? The in Doom Eternal. You
Yeah.
fight the like a cyber demon, but it's like it hovers and it has like Gatling guns.
I think I know what you mean. It does sound vaguely familiar, but that was probably inspired by this, given how old these guys are.
Yeah.
But like even with that, the Necrons are made out of some interesting material. Did you know their skin, their necrodermis, can regenerate itself, right? It's a living metal. It's basically corpse skin. Hence, I mean, that's the Greek words for it. Necro, dead. Dermis, skin. Also, I've run out
Okay.
of tea, which
So
is very disappointing.
uh, it was called the Doom Hunter. That's what I was referring to, not
The
the Cyber
Doom
Demon.
Hunter. Yeah, no, the Cyber Demon's the floaty head thing.
Here, I'll send a picture to you.
Uh, yeah, I think I've done all I can talk about with the Necrons. As much as I didn't get into them as much the orcs because most of the stuff I like about them is they're like, oh, that looks sick. Most of the stuff I really like about the Necrons is like this very. It's a much more personal thing. You know what I mean?
What about it for Necrons is personal to you?
Well, it's more about so they do more small stuff. They're like good stuff is their smaller stories about characters. For example, Altex, who was the protagonist of the Twice Dead King, who also had a really cool thing that they did where with the Necrons where they can get subordinate minds, so they can like upgrade themselves and have smaller minds or like mini minds within it that like divide up processes to run things faster. So he had five. He had a doctorial mind, which is just understanding Necron culture, history, traditions. A strategic mind, which is just like his military mind that would run all the strategies and stuff in his head. His combat mind, which is just for his own personal prowess, so like his own fighting, his own combat and shit. His analytical mind, which is mostly for just processing, analyzing information in data, not so much for strategy, just understanding more generalized information. And then xenology, which was just his own understanding of alien species, which wasn't the greatest from what I remember the book, but it was there.
You know
And
what popped into my mind when you were describing that guy? When you were saying like 5 minds in one, it just reminded me of Legion from Mass Effect 2.
That's not that far off, because going off the Geth, they are fairly similar to how the Necrons are. They're just a bit more peaceful and less,
Yeah.
we're mightier than thee type deal. Also, Necrons have some really interesting swords and stuff, because their swords, if you get hit by those things are so sharp that they can cut through stone with 0 difficulty. And that might be the Necrons wielding them, so they just hit hard, but they don't get damaged when they cut through stuff. And they don't shatter stones; they cut stones.
When I was watching Pride Nexus, Sakan the Salamander went up against a Necron, a big Necron unit that had like a big green sword.
Yeah,
and it just like completely cut off his arm.
Yeah, that's the Necron energy. It will. That's kind of energy from one of the shattered Catan. So most of the stuff they use to power their weapons is the energy of shattered gods. Their weapons are literally powered by gods.
I don't know why, but that just seems like way too much. That just makes me laugh. Like, just a regular ass Necron soldier just holding like a Gauss gun. And it's like, oh, you know what powers my gun? It's not bullets. It's like a fallen god. That's what powers my gun.
That's not fallen god. These gods were shattered. It's a shattered god. Although, fun fact, the only unshattered Catan is currently under Mars. It's in Mars. It is Mars. And the Mechanicus thinks it's their Omnisire. So that's fun. It's not great.
One day we'll talk about the Adeptus Mechanicus.
And their complete lacks of faces and personalities.
Well, you said that was all you had about the Necrons, right? Anything else of of note that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, the biggest thing of note with the Necrons is the fact they've harnessed the energy of their gods to use it for batshit insane things, to the point of some of their gods are actually being used for pirate ships. They've also used them to like summon Thunderbolt. They use like the shards of their gods as weapons and as teleporting things, because different shards can do different things.
You're right.
But one of the Catan is free and running around the galaxy trying to get vengeance on the Necrons. The Deceiver is free and somewhere out in the galaxy just causing shit.
So if you were to sum up the Necron in like a couple sentences, what would you sum them up to be?
Depressing zombie Egyptians made of metal.
That's a good description of them.
They have some of the coolest units, and the design is fucking amazing. I mean, look behind me. Look how cool that fucking looks. For anyone who's listening to this on Spotify, there's just a picture of a Necron, and it looks fucking sick. You guys should Google Necrons. They look so fucking cool.
Yeah, I will admit the Necron design is pretty cool.
The only problem is I've found with Necron designs is if you Google Necron, you get like a million AI generated images that look like shit. Because they do weird things, like they twist the symbols in the wrong way, or they just they're frustrating to look at, if that makes sense to anyone. But also, you should look up the Trazen model that you can go buy. You can go buy a Trazen Mini, and it looks amazing. You could go buy... Actually, most of the characters I mentioned have a Mini you can go and buy from a store. And I do want to also quickly mention something about Ultex quickly. His entire journey through the 2 books of the Twice Dead King ends with him becoming one of the Flayed Ones.
Oh, that's sad.
So his whole story is kind of him devolving into one of the flayed ones. Like I said, the Necrons are fucking depressing and just so fucking sad.
Oh
Everything
God, you know what
about
I
them just
you know you know what I just pieced together? Do you think like the flayed one is like an allegory for Alzheimer's?
not exactly, because it can be spread. Like you can contract it like a straight up disease.
Man, that's sad. And I'm guessing throughout that whole book, you're like you're getting to know his character and stuff, and then at
Yeah.
certain points he just like devolves. He shows signs of like the flayed one disease, and then at the end it's just like full like crazy flayed one.
Well, it's interesting because in the book it kind of reveals that the flayed ones can communicate. They just can't talk in the Necrons' normal language anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but they can talk to each other. Like they can fully easily communicate with each other. They just can't communicate with normal Necrons, which makes them seem disgusting. But Altex ends the book as what's basically called the Flayer King, or the King. So he becomes the king of the flayed ones, and he leads them away to wherever the fuck they need to go.
Yeah, Necrons are cool. Flayed ones are sad.
Flayed ones are
Um,
really terrifying, but also utterly depressing. The
yeah,
they are completely full of cults. They have way too many politics and way too many dynasties that just leaves me going, "Ooh, I could list the dynasty." Do you want me to do a power run of just listing dynasty names for you? You can watch me suffer while I try and pronounce these fucking names. Hey, chat, you guys want to see me suffer by attempting to say a bunch of Necron dynasty names? Like,
all right.
because
Go ahead and try to list all the dynasty names.
this is gonna be peak pain. I'm telling you now. Okay, let's find this dude. I was on a list of these fucking names. Where are they? Okay, here we go. Here we go. So, starting with A, Agadeth Dynasty, Atun Dynasty, Alt Altimo Atumhor Dynasty,
Already.
Altamo Dynasty. Shut the fuck up. Erotepec Dynasty, Erenamek, and what the fuck? Why has it got so many R's in a row? It's got 3 R's in a row. What the fuck?
You're like, what the fuck? What is that word?
Aren Marok Dynasty. I have to slow down. Bone Kingdom of Drazak. Okay, that one's easy.
That's like an orc name. Okay.
Charnavok Dynasty. Davanok Dynasty. Empire of the Severed, which is it's one of the weird emperors. I think it's part of the Sarko. Yeah, it's a weird one. Hyrek Dynasty, Kyra Dynasty, Kansu Dynasty, Kardeneth Dynasty, Minarcha Dynasty, Meprit Dynasty, Nekthist Dynasty, Neperek Dynasty, Neocaris Dynasty, Nihilak Dynasty,
Okay.
Novak Dynasty, Ogdobek Dynasty. Ogdobek? Ogdobek again. That sounds familiar. Okay. The Oltep Dynasty. Orosek Dynasty. Urskar Dynasty. Oscar Dynasty? Suket.
Sutek, Sutek, the Destroyer. Wherever I go, I leave dust.
Yes, Imhotep, the Destroyer. The Stormlord. Rytak dynasty, Sutek dynasty, Sonek dynasty, Samonak dynasty, Sekemtar dynasty. What is that? September for a second.
September dynasty.
That's what I was like, what the fuck? Who names it that? That's a weird name for a dynasty. Shemnock dynasty. I thought that's the Irish dynasty. Don't even worry about it. Right, Irish. Have you heard of the Septemnock dynasty? Shemnock dynasty. It's all about the Shemnocks, man.
It's all about the Shamrock dynasty.
What the fuck accent? What part of Ireland are you from? Belfast.
I don't know.
Fucking Belford. I know what part of Ireland you're from. Austin. Thucht dynasty. Vralak. How the fuck do you pronounce that at the end of that? That's weird. Vralak dynasty.
You're gonna have to send me a list of that so I can try pronouncing them.
Well, I'll send you the worst ones. Like this is a big offender. Let's see. Zonthar dynasty. That's not bad.
Vralk Zonthar.
Zentroga. Zengontra.
That's like another orc name.
These do sound more orcish than fucking Necron. I'm not gonna lie. Thucht is hilarious to me. I'm just gonna send you all the names as I go. Back up the list.
Okay, Zen. Thucht.
Shemnock. Oh, it's a Shemnock dynasty. Right, we're from Ireland and Shemnock's around there somewhere.
That sounds like a little town over there in Ireland.
Right.
Shenmok.
That's what I thought as well.
Samnock. Okay. Not too bad.
It's not
Sarnek.
Some of them also.
Soltek.
No, Sutek. But yeah, close. Also, you're saying
Rytek.
Yeah, those ones are easy.
Oruskar. Oruske.
The fuck was that? Chewy. Calm.
Oltep. It's not too bad.
No, Oltep's easy. Anyone could say Oltep. It's when it gets into the ends where it gets weird. Like, also, when I said there's a million fucking dynasties,
that one after Oltep that you sent sounds like a fucking Star Wars planet.
Oldabaka.
Yeah. Novake.
You didn't even say the one that's after Oltep. You just gave up. You're like, I don't know how to fucking say that.
Ogdukapek.
Ogdukapek. It's the K's. It makes it. It's the consonants feel like they're hitting you in the back of the throat every time you try to say them.
Yeah. Mefrit, that's okay. Nectist. Nefric.
Cardeneth.
Maynarch. Cardeneth. God, I would love to listen to a segment of an audiobook or like a segment of a video about like someone that's like professionally trained to say all these fucking words.
I mean, that's why I mentioned several of the books, the Twice Dead King, the Wretched, the Infinite and the Divine. Infinite and Divine is good. It's all about my boy, fucking Trazen, man. Then the one with way too many R's in it. Okay, say that C1. Say that Charnovic.
Charnovic. Aron Marek. Arotypic. Timur, Alton, or Aten.
The worst is this one because it's Agdagath. Agdagath.
Yeah, Agdagath.
You have to find the rhythm
That
of the fucking
that one
word.
sounds like a Cthulhu ass name.
Where do you think Cthulhu got it from? Where do you think Lovecraft got it from? He got it from the Necrons, man. You saw the Necrons. That's where it's from.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
God, there's so many.
I think that's gonna be it for the Necron episode. We were just fucking listing off Necron.
I mean, I could talk about their war on the webway, but that didn't really work properly. The Empire that is severed, which is just a random tumult that decided, you know what, we're going to be our own empire. Fuck everyone else. There's Mobius, the twisted catacomb, crown world Necrons dynasty.
Oh damn, Moby's in here. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know why Moby's in here. He's had too many fucking back labels.
Dude, what kind of music do you think Necrons would make?
It would be classical music. It would literally just be classical fucking Beethoven-styled music. It also
really
would be
think
depressing.
so?
Look at the Necrons.
I don't know why. I think metal maybe.
No,
not metal. Metal.
The only race is going to listen to metal is the orcs, man.
No. I think orcs would listen to hard rock. I think metal would be like Korn or something.
Nah, I think the Necrons are not. See, the thing is, you're going off the Necrons' pictures when they're in battle. The pictures of when they're just alone, that you're like, this is. And from like all the descriptions in the books, these motherfuckers are just sitting there listening to like organ music. They're listening to the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack the whole time.
I've never seen that movie, and I don't know what the music is like. So I'm guessing it's just like very opera-y.
No, because in a movie called Phantom of the Opera, they definitely wouldn't have any fucking opera.
Like I said, I don't know anything about the movie.
I mean,
except that the guy wears like a mask on half of his face.
Yeah, it's burnt half of his face, which doesn't really look that bad because they used too good-looking an actor. But it's fine. It's fine. Let's see if you can say Magladroth. Magladroth. Here's a name. I found the
Okay, now that's just that's just a name from fucking Lord of the Rings.
It's not.
Megladroth, Mephitran.
These are the names of the Catan.
Azagurad.
Yeah, they get worse. You got the easy ones. Now it gets to the weird ones. Yay!
Lysadra.
Lysadra. Caligura.
Yeah, Caligura.
Caligura
the VTuber. The VTuber Caligura.
Why are they a VTuber?
Ogdriata. Oh god, that one's okay. Nyadra Zatha.
Nyadra Zatha.
Saranaga.
Yagaranaga. These names, man, what the fuck? These guys are all like
Igranaga Igranaya.
Necron Overlord, who stands over a Necron Lord, who stands over a Necron Cryptic, who stands over a Destroyer Lord, who then has a Death Mark, and the Triarch Praetorians. Oh, the Praetorians never slept. The Praetorians fought for 65 million years against everybody else and has retarded amounts of just XP. They got all the XP. They XP maxed, man. For 65 million years, how much XP do you need from that?
I really love that this episode just devolved into us like fucking saying all these Necron names.
Dude, the Necron names are so dumb. This Altex is actually a pretty easy name to say. Vizier.
Well, if you guys want AC to record a video of him trying to pronounce all these Necron names on camera, then go ahead and check out his YouTube.
Yeah,
he's been posting a lot of reactions to Kamen Rider.
Yeah, my current thing is Kamen Rider. I have got a short little sketch that I'm finishing up. I have to add some finishing touches to it, do a bit of color correcting. I had a voiceover track for the helmeted character, even though you can clearly see there's his jaw moving, but that's fine. I'm still going to make it sound like he's got a voice modulator somewhere. I can do that, but yes.
As for me, I just recently released a video on my YouTube at Chris the
I
Wiz.
saw you talking about Call of Duty and the.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was basically me talking about how the Call of Duty reboot had better characters than the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare campaign, and I still hold to that. Yeah, I still hold to that.
That's really not hard.
It's funny because yesterday I just finished playing Modern Warfare 2, and I felt nothing when Ghost died near the end of the game.
Who died? I don't know any of these characters you've listed.
Well, we can talk about that in a little bit. But as far as the recording side, thank you guys for listening. Next week is going to be a regular episode of the podcast, and then after that, what do you feel like teaching me about next time?
I think next time I'm going to go into the Primarchs. I'm going to teach you about the Primarchs, what they're important is, how many of them are, which ones fell into chaos, which ones stayed loyal, and how like 80% of the fuckers just died after the Horus Heresy. And the ones who didn't die were mostly the ones who fell to chaos and like are now weird immortal guys who keep getting brought back in Angron. Really, really needed a hug, but it's too late now. He needed his dad not to be a dickhead.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be it on the podcasts for the recording side. Thank you guys for listening. And go ahead and end it off, AC.
Thank you
in the very Necron way.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. We shall see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Johnny!